Andrew, that's you. That's your cue, Andrew.
Oh, you
Andrew?
were muted. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you couldn't hear me?
No.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder if anybody heard. Should I start over? I'll start over just in case nobody else could hear me. Andrew, how's that sound for you?
Yeah, Phil says he forgot to unmute your mic.
No worries. No worries. Live from a bunker in the heart of the Ozarks, a podcast that would eat a blizzard inside a blizzard just for the poetic symmetry. It's SiftPop. Welcome to SiftPop Weekly, streaming live most weekends or available to download later in your podcast feed, unless, of course, you're a patron.
Patrons get perks!
Patrons get those perks.
Butcha.
I'm your host, Aaron Dicer, and he's directed by Robert Zemeckis. It's Andrew Ormsby.
Oh, boy.
Each week, we'll chat about movies, television, whatever else from the pop culture universe is on our minds. Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Hey, you too. I like that. That was really good.
You never know what's going to happen.
That's like a top 5 intro for me.
Oh, wow. Top 5. I love it. Thank you very much. Thank you to the SiftPop family hanging out with us live. Thank you to the SiftPop family who is listening later. We love you all. We appreciate you all. This is now a video and audio podcast. We are trying to do both. Imagine that. And if you want to watch live, you can do that in several places. YouTube.com/SiftPop, Facebook.com/SiftPop, Twitch.com/Aaron Dicer, or Twitter.com/Aaron Dicer. All will be active within the chat. We can see all of the comments on all of those places. So if you want to come hang out with us live and watch the show, it happens at 1:30 Central Time, Sunday afternoon. So, you know, somewhere around the third quarter of the 1 o'clock game, you know, or whatever, however Sundays work anymore. With football, who knows what's going on there?
I think it's halftime right now.
Somewhere around halftime of the first batch of games. You can come hang out with us. Already in the chat, Buck Reviewer says, "Oh no, Andrew's a Saints fan." Yeah.
Oh yes, Andrew's a Saints fan. Andrew is a mighty Saints fan.
Listen, you know what? You do you. The chat is canceling you though for being a Saints fan. So
that's fine. They're not worthy of being a member of the Who Dat Nation.
Jay Bourgeois says, "Thank you for saving me from having to listen to more of the Bears versus Lions game." Yes, as a Michigander born and raised, Lions football is not my favorite thing. We'll just say it that way. We have got some pop culture fun stuff that we're going to talk about today, though. We will get around to the Charlie Kaufman movie that came out on Netflix last week. I'm Thinking of Ending Things. We are also going to be talking about season 2 of The Boys, which is show on Amazon Prime. Yes, the first 4 episodes, I think, are out. Did you get a chance to watch all 4?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we've watched the first 4 episodes of The Boys, and we'll be chatting a little bit about that as well. Of course, we've got some Buried Treasure. We've got a best ever challenge on Jesse Plemons movies. Jesse's been a fun part of the pop culture landscape for a few years now, so we thought we'd look in on his filmography, see what the best movies that he's been in are. But we'll kick it off with some reviews, Andrew, if you're ready.
Let's do it, man.
All right, let's get into I'm thinking of ending things. Full of misgivings, a young woman travels with her new boyfriend to his parents' secluded farm. And that is about all you're going to get as far as the description goes on this one. It comes to us through the brain of Charlie Kaufman, who you may know from writing movies like Being John Malkovich, Adaptation, Schenectady, New York. I'm trying to think of some others. Oh, he did on
Eternal
Anomalisa.
Sunshine.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. He wrote, that's right. Michel Gondry directed that one. Spike Jonze directed a couple of the others. This one, he's doing it all, writing, directing, and similar to what he did on Anomalisa. Although I've heard him talk about that the process on Anomalisa was kind of frustrating to him. And so I think this is kind of
frustrating. It was frustrating for me to watch. So
yeah, I like that movie more than you do. So I wonder if we'll maybe have a repeat here with this one. I'm thinking of ending things. What did you think, Andrew? Did you like it, love it, dislike it, hate it, or it was just okay?
I think I liked it.
Okay. That's better than Anomalisa. You know, you were pretty sure you didn't like that one. So
yeah. I saw this movie a couple days ago, and I'm still thinking about it.
Oh, sure.
Like trying to process it. So
yeah.
But I think I liked it. What did you think before I get into it?
Oh, sure. I'm firmly at least in the liked it camp, and I imagine I'm going to continue to crawl upwards. This movie is resonating with me in a lot of really cool ways that I think I may actually land towards the loved it category. But right now, I'm just going to say high side of liked it because I still need to think about it, let it kind of simmer in my brain a little bit more. But it continues to reveal itself to me in some interesting ways. And Charlie Kaufman, man, I simultaneously am sad for that man and impressed by that man. Like the things that he is doing, both in this movie and in Anomalisa, are so artistically impressive. I know you disagree with Anomalisa. Just forgive me that I kind of lumped them together.
I was just going to say, well, he didn't say Anomalisa. He said any other one of his movies that I like.
Right, yeah, you just can pretend like that. It's both impressive what he's doing artistically and also gives you insight into his idea of humanity and sadness, and there's something authentically desperate and depressing about his art that is that just lingers. Like I said, it just lingers with me. How did it strike you? Like even just emotionally, or as you're watching it, like what was this movie for you?
Honestly, it was a roller coaster of emotions. Mainly because I think he's saying so much, which I'll get into later. But the realism, as far as like having a conversation in your head with yourself, which Lucy, Louise, whatever I'll just call her Lucy.
I think in the credits she's called Young Woman or something like that.
Young Woman.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's something like that. It's something very general in the credits. But yeah,
I'll just stick with Lucy for now.
Fair enough.
How she's having these thoughts in her head, and then like in the middle of her thoughts, Jesse Plemons will just chime in because he doesn't know that she's in the middle of a thought or anything like that. In so many movies, somebody will have a thought and the person will finish having their thought, and then the other actor or actress in the scene will then begin to talk as if they somehow knew that was their cue for their dialogue to start. But not here. There were parts of this movie where I was wondering if Jesse Plemons' character could actually hear what she was thinking. There's so much in this movie where, there's so much in this movie where I'm wondering, is what I'm curious about actually happening, or am I just putting something that I think is happening in the movie that's not supposed to be there?
I think this is a common thing with art that, especially movies, that try to be more than just a typical film, right? And you know Kaufman, when he sets out to do something, is going to do something a little more than typical. It's going to be atypical in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah.
And I think one of the factors, not factors, but one of the results, the consequences of doing that is what you're talking about. This idea that it becomes a canvas for you to paint your own ideas on, for you to paint your own realities on, for you to start to draw connections. That doesn't mean that Kaufman doesn't have an intent or the artist doesn't have an intent with what they're doing. It just means great art almost it supersedes that intent in many ways. So even what the artist is intending, that people take, different. I think The Matrix is a good example of a movie like this, right? There's enough metaphor and analogy and stuff going on with what they're doing there. It's fantastical. It's different. It's not normal. And you can certainly read the text and kind of see what's going on in the text, but the subtext is so mysterious. There are religious themes. There's all these things going on in the movie. And so you can kind of write your own theories about what that means and what that is. And I think those are some of the best films. And I think this is definitely one of those movies where you'll come away going, wait, so is this mean this, or is this person this, or why did this happen in this? And I try not to give too much away here when we're not doing spoilers. This is definitely one we will do a Sift spoil on, so that'll show up in
Oh
your
yeah.
podcast feed. And we may even broadcast live on that. I forgot to ask producer Phil if that was something we were going to do, but we'll see about that. But what I can say right now is that I think this movie has a very, at least to me, clear text that it's trying to get across, even as strange as it is, but that I think that text is beautiful enough to expand to some different areas and different things that you're thinking. So I'm really excited to have that conversation and hear what you got out of it and kind of what you pulled from it.
Basically, what I found in this movie is just like I said. I think that Charlie Kaufman is saying a lot in this movie, and that can be a negative with this type of thing, where you can try and say too much that it kind of muddles, what is really going on. Um, I'll just say that my favorite set, I guess I could say, is at the farmhouse. Um, I think that's the clear winner for me as far as like uh scenes that were holding me and trying to capture my attention. That's where it was.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I found this movie saying a lot of beautiful things about Alzheimer's or watching a loved one have to watch people they know go through that something. Um, how some of this movie had me thinking like what I'm seeing right now. Basically, a lot of what Lucy's seeing in the house is what I imagine somebody with Alzheimer's goes through, like going back and forth in time and seeing, separate
Sure.
different things. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then she's watching Jesse Plemons go through all of this, watching his parents, so it's like she's the one in the looking glass watching him have to deal with all of this. Um, Again, Toni Collette just proves time and time again that she is one of, if not one of the greatest actresses of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And for weird roles too. Weird roles.
Yeah.
Like if there's a weird role that could possibly have to do something with Thriller, Toni Collette's hand just goes up like, I got this. I know what I'm doing. You know.
Put me in, coach.
Yeah. Yeah, put me in, coach. But I think that there is a sense that if you're going into this not knowing about Charlie Kaufman's work, that you can get a sense of pretentiousness from this movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way I looked at it was Wes Anderson started from a place of pretentiousness, but he's come around to being a more accessible director. His movies are more accessible now than I think his earlier works were. Whereas I think Kaufman, you look at some of his earlier works, I think they were more accessible, but they've kind of transitioned into a more pretentious has a negative connotation.
It does.
Yeah. But a more sublime way of making movies to where they're not really as accessible as his earlier works. And I think that this is if you want to call that type of, craziness Kaufman, then this is full Kaufman.
Yes. I think a lot of this comes down to your willingness to go along for the ride. I think there's a
Literally.
difference. Yeah, yes. Yeah, literally. There is a difference, I think, between the confusion you might feel watching this and the confusion you might feel watching the Tenet, right? Like those are different kinds of confusion. Tenet
Yeah.
is something where you're just missing the pieces, right? Like there are just
Yeah.
pieces that you need to continue to put together to see the whole puzzle. With a
This
movie
you
like
question reality.
Correct. With a movie like this, you're more missing a code, maybe. You're missing like a key that will help you understand what's going on. Then once you have that key, I think things fall into place. Now the question is, what is that key? What is that code breaker? What is that thing that makes this
Hmm.
movie real for you, that makes it interesting for you? And again, that goes back to what I was saying about how sometimes great art can have several different codes, several different keys, and I have my own ideas, and I'm excited to talk about them in the spoilers. But I think a lot of it comes down to how you view and what you understand about the relationship between Jesse Plemons' character and Jesse Buckley's character and the janitor character. Those three characters have a relationship in this movie that begs you to reckon with. It begs you to reckon with what is their relationship? How do they relate to each other? And I think how you answer those questions will probably define how confused you feel during the movie. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah. Oh, the theory crafting in this movie was on from beginning to end. Like, I think that this is this. I think that this is this.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, yeah. I think our spoiler cast for this is going to be a fairly lengthy conversation about not only what this movie meant to us, in the spoilers, but also
Mm-hmm.
what the movie possibly was trying to hint at with certain things.
Rob says, I feel like Kaufman's films tend to benefit from someone else's direction, another mind helping tell the story. Um, I kind
Which
of
is funny
disagree.
because this isn't his original story. It's an adaptation of a
No, it's an
book.
adaptation of a book, which is different, right? It didn't come straight whole cloth out of his brain. I've heard
Yeah.
that a lot, Rob. I've heard a lot of people say that Kaufman needs somebody to kind of rein him in, and I don't know that I fully agree. I will say I love it when he teams up with Spike Jonze. I think they work well together.
Yeah.
And it's not like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is a bad movie or anything. That's a great collaboration too. But
It's it's possibly the greatest Kaufman movie ever.
I think it takes I I think Kaufman is well on his way to not only making good movies, but making movies that more accurately represent the emotion he wants to put on screen. So, when you have other people kind of directing that, like Spike Jonze or Michelle Gondry, they have the ability to put their stamp on it. And that's great because we like their stamps. But what Kaufman's doing now is he's saying, no, 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 this is me. That was me with somebody else, but this is the kind of movie I want to make. And it's not necessarily going to be for everybody, but I don't think that makes it better or worse. I just think it makes it different. And I think he's really figuring himself out in
There's a
that way.
scene in this, yeah, there's a scene in this movie where the characters are talking about abstract art, like Jackson
Yes.
Pollock and stuff like that,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, I think that I think that Kaufman right now is doing a commentary on how people view his movies. I think that he is saying in this analogy that he is Jackson Pollock.
He includes many conversations in this movie that have repercussions on the idea of how he is making his movie. Right?
Yeah,
This movie plays a lot with pop culture, with ideas. The musical Oklahoma. There's a
yeah.
speech in this
Oh, I
movie
got
that
so many things I want to say about that.
Yeah, there's a speech that comes directly from another movie in this. There's a character starts reciting a movie criticism that comes directly from an actual critic of an actual film. Like there's just all these moments where he's doing. There's a movie within the movie at one point, and He's
Do-
really using pop culture to say, okay, this is what it is, but here's what I'm doing. And so I think you're right. I think he's
yeah.
pointing to himself in a lot of ways with what he's choosing to include.
Yeah.
So I
I've
think that makes
always
sense.
thought of Kaufman as like the Van Gogh of movie makers. I know he made the analogy more towards the abstract with Jackson Pollock, but I think that he, for me, relates to more as like a Van Gogh as opposed to anybody, how he's totally by a portion of the world misunderstood, and that his brain is working on this totally different spectrum than the rest of ours, and because of that he's able to see the world differently than the rest of us. And his movies are pretty much a window into the world of Kaufman, and that's what his movies are. We get to see his mind working.
We did have a question from Jay in the comments. Aaron and/or Andrew, how did you feel about Synecdoche, New York? Do you remember much about that movie, Andrew? I'm not sure.
Oh,
I don't
I
think
think
we
it's
reviewed it.
Sandusky, isn't it? Sandusky, New York.
No, it is not Sandusky.
That's the that's what's his name?
This is the one that is like a movie within a movie set within a movie set, apartment within apartment within an apartment. It's like it's several levels of things going on. I haven't watched it in a while. I remember being really intrigued
Who?
by it, and I wonder if I went back and watched it now, kind of how I would feel about it. But I do
Yes,
remember
Philip
enjoying it.
Seymour Hoffman. Yeah,
Yeah,
where he's like been trying to put on a play for like what is it, 40 years or something
right.
like
Yes,
that.
yes, yeah. I said
Yeah,
movie. I meant play. Yeah, yeah.
well, I know what you meant. Yeah, but gosh, Kaufman. That's all I got to say.
I used to think I used to say in terms of who is a movie maker that's like MC Escher. I used to put Kaufman and Nolan kind of both in that camp, and I really think Escher is more Nolan. I think you're right. I think Kaufman
Yeah.
is more of the Van Gogh or somebody who's just painting outside of the lines in a way to create emotion, to still tell a story, but to more importantly convey some truth about life and death and existence, with a cinematic paintbrush. And there's a scene towards the end of this movie that I think does that perfectly, and actually I think serves as that code breaker. I think the final scene serves as kind of a code breaker to the rest of the movie. At least did for me, and he's just so talented at that. And I think that's more than just the playing with time, playing with perspective, those kind of things that Nolan loves to do. I think it's a different kind of thing. So I don't know that I would say that he is Escher anymore. I think I agree with you. I think it'd be more Van Gogh for Kaufman or something similar to that.
Yeah.
So, or even Picasso. Some of the stuff Picasso
Yeah.
did, with changing the way to bring in emotion. Not that again, I know a ton about famous artists. I just kind of know the basics. But
Oh,
somebody who has an
yeah.
art
Far be
degree
it
would
from me to be the
right.
the expert. No.
Anything else you wanted to mention about this film?
No post credit scene, and well, I guess there technically is, but it's part of the credits.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'll just say no post credit scene. Nothing you have to wait for.
I think it's
And
a very, very important beginning credit scene. I think it has a lot of emotion to it. At least it did for me. So
oh, the
yeah.
opening credits.
No, no, no.
Yeah,
I mean the end credits. The opening of the end credits or the over credit scene, I think is, probably how it would be stated.
yeah,
We can talk about that in spoilers, but yeah, for sure.
yeah. Um, you just have to be aware of your audience as a critic and know who to recommend this movie to. It's not one you recommend to everybody.
That is true. That is true. You kind of know those people in your life that are,
Yeah.
cinema lovers who enjoy more of a challenge. Here's something else I want to say that isn't a spoiler, so we don't have to wait to say it till spoilers. Kaufman has this incredible way of trusting his audience, and I love it. I love it when a director or a writer says, I'm not going to give you everything because I trust you to be able to do the work. I trust you to be able to feel what I'm trying to say, to put some disparate pieces together. I'm not going to spell it out for you. And I really enjoy that. I really like that. And I think Kaufman is one of the best at that, at really just kind of saying, I trust you to take what you're going to take from this movie. I'm putting out there what I want to put out there. And so that's another thing I really enjoy about what he does. And especially in this movie. For me, it's a big recommend. I would recommend it because I really do think I will end up in the loved it category. The only thing I can see myself not liking about this movie, especially upon rewatches, are how dark it is. This movie is very, and I don't mean actually light and dark. I mean as far as it really has a depression draw to it that can really bring you into some really dark places, and
Yeah.
that is an aspect of humanity. It's not something I want to ignore, that is a truth that we can struggle with, but to continue to live it over and over again as far as rewatchability. I don't know that part of it for me was good. It wasn't something that I liked about the movie. It is something that is intentional about the movie. It is something that makes it even more artistic, but it's not something that I want to necessarily continue to experience again and again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Very
yeah,
good.
I think that's about it. About all we have to say about it. I'm thinking of ending things. By the way, the title is pretty clever as well when you really start to think about it. So we can get into that more in spoilers as well. Let's move on to the next review. We're going to talk about The Boys, Season 2, Episodes 1 through 4. Superheroes are often as popular as celebrities, as influential as politicians, and sometimes even revered as gods. But that's when they're using their powers for good. What happens when the heroes go rogue and start abusing their powers? The Boys is on Amazon, and I think it's on it's Amazon Prime, right? I think
It
this is
is.
Amazon Prime show. Season 2 released with the first 3 episodes, and then we'll be releasing an episode every Friday. So there was a 4th one this Friday. Andrew, what did you think as far as these first 4 episodes goes? You like them, love them, dislike them, hate them, or were they just okay?
I really like them. I really like them.
I'm going to go with disappointed, but what's interesting about that is I would still say I'm on the low side of liked them, maybe high side of okay.
What did you think of season 1?
Season 1, I am on the high side of liked it. I think it did some really interesting things, had some really important things, I think, to say about our culture, about what it means to hero worship, about all those kind of things. And I really enjoyed it. I'm already feeling a bit tired of the formula. I see the formula peeking through in every episode, and it's just, I don't know. I'm getting a little bored. Is that, I don't know why. It's hard for me to put my finger on, except to say it's just, it feels like treading water to me in some ways. I don't know where we're going. And I need a little something to hold on to, I think.
Well, I think that this 4th episode, the way it wrapped up, I think that this is like really what could have been the beginning of the season. Like as far as like
I think that's
the
fair.
main
Yeah.
story arc, because like as soon as like things are revealed in the 4th episode, I'm like, oh, okay, so yeah, let's go, let's do this. But it took 4 episodes to get here, and the first 3, don't get me wrong, I laughed. If you can say that The Boys has a paint by numbers of funny scene, in uncomfortably graphically gory scene, and then just a quick funny commentary back and forth. I think that that's the formula that you see in every single one of these episodes, as well as a commentary on like hero worship and stuff like that. Like they're hitting all their marks, but I think
Mm-hmm.
The fourth episode is really like, okay, here's our paint by numbers, but here's what the story's going to be. And I think that they should have brought that a little closer to the beginning, it's because I don't see any reason why they should have held off from that up until this point.
I totally agree. As far as moving the story forward a little bit, I would also say I still don't think that I have found a story that I'm interested in enough to be drawn by in this season yet. It feels like every character is just, yeah, I get it now. I mean, how many more times do I need to see Homelander do something evil? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, there was something about that first season that felt like every step of the way was a revelation about a character or something that I cared about that I wanted to know more about. And this season is just man, I'm just I've lost my footing. I just don't know where to place my interest, and because of that, I am getting bored with it. And so
Mm,
that's now, having said that, I still like that it exists, and I think what it's trying to do overall. And I guess I should trust that they have someone somewhere that they're trying to go. Um, for me, I wonder if, man, maybe this was supposed to just be a movie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know where we're going. I don't know how much more of this, because like I think this show also likes to shock, right? Which is, understandable. And but then I just see like that desperation to have another shock moment, and most of them aren't working for me.
yeah.
So I'm not having a great time.
I know what I'm going to say right here. I disagree on the fact that I am having a great time. I'm thoroughly enjoying the show, but
Yeah,
I so far I am saying that I like season one more.
yeah,
But I think that they've made their point already with the shock violence and gore and stuff like that. Like, what these superheroes do, you see them do in comics where they're like punch a bad guy or something like that, and the bad guy just falls down. No, the bad guy would lose his head, because they punch
hmm,
so hard,
right,
and they're trying to hit a realism with that, quote unquote realism of like realistically what the superhero would do to them.
hmm,
Um, and I also found in season one how it was fascinating of how this being worshipped and everything can go to your head and give you a mentality of I can do anything. I can do anything I want. Who's going to stop me? I think Homelander's the prime example of that. He's the what if he's what he is Brightburn grown up. If Brightburn was a good movie.
uh-huh.
Uh, but there's just I'm not as fascinated with the hero slash villains as much as I am like I like watching Butcher and Huey and Frenchie and I just that crew. Is it Kamiko? Is that her name?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Kimiko,
and
yeah.
yeah, that crew is the one I'm really fascinated with, and I like to spend the most time with. I think that they have the more interesting story arc.
See, I would make a distinction between so when I think of that crew, I am not fascinated by them. I enjoy spending time with them. I like them. I like being with. I like the dynamic between Butcher and the kid's name is slipping my brain right now, but I like their dynamic.
Oh,
But
Huey?
yeah, Huey. I like Huey and Butcher together. I think their dynamic works really well. But I'm just not. I'm not invested in like that's the same relationship they've had since episode 1 season 1, and I just don't know when that changes, if it changes, why it changes. I'm ready for that with these characters that I do enjoy actually spending time with. I just the more I watch television, the older I get, the more I am impatient with TV. And it's just like there, and it's not that I need like a hit every second or something like that, but I need to feel the momentum of the story. I need you to tell me why I care so that I continue to care. Show me, don't tell me, show me. Let's be clear. Why
Yeah.
I care about these characters and what's going on in their world right now. And it's like, okay, so there's, Gus Fring is at the head of, the company, and I
Yeah,
don't know, and
Giancarlo
Liberty,
Esposito is
and
really underused right now.
yeah, yeah. So
There's that scene with him and Homelander, and I'm like, oh, I need more of that.
let me ask you this, Andrew, since you like it more than I do, and it's going to sound out like it really is sounding like I don't like the show anymore. It should be sounding like it won't be long before I don't like the show anymore. I still like the show right now, but if it doesn't soon start growing beyond what it is, I'll just kind of be bored with it. So my question to you is, Andrew, as somebody who likes the show, what do you get like? You've got an episode coming out on Prime. You've got all these other things to watch, right? What
Hmm.
makes you go, oh, I need to watch the next episode of The Boys first? I really need to get that on my TV. What excites you to see the next episode?
It's. I'm trying to think of a way to say this without spoiling what's happened. Uh, what is Kamiko planning on doing with what has happened in this season? I think that's a really interesting story that I'm curious about. Um,
I
how
think
I'm
it's fair
trying.
without spoiling to say vengeance. So you're talking about the
Yeah,
idea of I want to see
vengeance.
vengeance served.
Yeah. Starlight surviving within the Vought Tower. Because
Okay.
every single time she's back there, I just get, tense and nervous for her and scared for her. Which she can take care of herself, obviously, but still, there's that air of dread in that building. Um, and I'm curious, from my knowledge of the comic books, what they're gonna do with Black Noir. I'm curious what.
You found one. You found one that I actually would be curious to see if they're ever going to do, which is the Black Noir character. But I have a feeling that character is just going to remain a throwaway joke. And I could be wrong about that. I hope I'm wrong about that. But right
In the
now, they're
comics, it's revealed and it's pretty interesting.
yeah,
You'll either love it or hate it, sort of thing. But yeah,
yeah.
Black Noir, he's funny and he's also creepy too.
See, you said he. Maybe they have gendered in the show. I didn't even remember hearing that, so I didn't know. He, she, they. I had no
Oh, I
idea
just
necessarily. But
the royal he, I guess.
the royal. So it was one of those things where with that character, I'm like, that's something I'm interested in that could change. It could be interesting, but it's just a throwaway joke on the show right now. It's just like anytime they need, some sort of, cut to big information has been revealed and Black Noir is forlorn about it and he's sitting on the floor. You know what I mean? Like they use it as a punchline more than any
Yeah.
kind of character development. Um, so yeah, there's a lot that could be happening, and maybe it's just maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just the natural thing where some things you don't connect to over a longer period of time, and some things you do. I just remember on shows like this where I fell in love with a group of characters in the world building that did work for me. It always felt like I was going somewhere and there was a mystery or something to figure out or to solve. And I just don't know what that is here. So, other than who is Black Noir, that would be the only one.
Mm.
I will keep watching though. I will keep watching for sure, at least for a few more episodes, and then if I stop, I will do a breakup segment with the boys like I used to do. So and break up with the show. But I don't see that happening anytime soon.
You haven't done that in forever.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, maybe I should break up with some of my other shows.
Just so you can do it.
I'm
I
just a
don't want to get
long-term
rid of the show. I
relationship
just,
guy.
yeah, I
That's right.
guess.
I need a segment. I need a segment for the show. I'll stop watching something. Anything else you wanted to say about the boys, Andrew?
No, not really. It's if you like season one, I think you'll like season two. It's slower picking off, but I think that there is a story here that they are just now getting to.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. I want more. But I'm still hanging on. Still
Yeah.
hanging on. All right. Before we head on to the best ever challenge, just a reminder that you can support SiftPop and keep this live video audio podcast going. We appreciate you so much to our SiftPop members, which is at Patreon, patreon.com/SiftPop. Support starts at $3 a month, and there's some fun perks there, stuff you can look at. Thank you so much for making this possible. Much of the equipment, the websites, the stuff that happens at the website, being able to afford the software to do this comes from you as a SiftPop member. So thank you for doing that. Again, if you want to check it out, it's at patreon.com/SiftPop. Patreon.com/SiftPop. Thank you so much. Means the world to us that you would think to throw some money our way each month. We appreciate it, and thank you. All right, let's move on to the best ever challenge, Andrew. We're going to take a look at the best ever Jesse Plemons movies since Jesse was in Thinking of Ending Things. We will go number 5 to number 1, maybe throw in some honorable mentions. He doesn't have a huge plethora of honorable mentions that we could even, go to, but he does have
more of a TV guy.
Well, he was in TV for quite a while. So let's talk about it. What are your favorite Jesse Plemons movies that he's in? And kick us off at your number 5, Andrew.
Number 5, I'm going to go with The Irishman.
Good choice. I'm going to trumpet.
Cool.
My number 5 is The Post. Jesse Plemons.
Oh, that was one of the first of my honorable mentions. Yeah,
nice.
Real good.
Yeah, I really enjoy this movie, and I hear a lot of worry that Spielberg's later movies aren't as good as his earlier movies, that kind of thing. I understand it. I get it. But man, he makes good movies. He really knows how to tell a story, and this is the case of him telling a great story and having a great cast to do it. I love the people in this movie, and so
you get Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks in a movie, and it's pretty much just a done deal. It's a winner.
That's right. That's all you need to do. Yeah. Done at casting. Yeah. You had me at casting. So The Post. If you haven't checked it out, I think it slipped under some people's radar. I think it's really good, and Jesse Plemons is in there. So there you go.
Yes, he is.
What's your number 4?
I'm going to go with the El Camino.
Oh yeah, the Breaking Bad
movie, which is Spanish for the Camino.
That was in my honorable mentions. For sure.
I like that it didn't rely on, it didn't have to have callback after callback after callback for it to be a fascinating story. They found a story, and we got a satisfying, I guess you could say, conclusion or whatever. Mm-hmm. It didn't when's the next cameo going to happen or anything like that. No, it was just a story and Aaron Paul, just insane.
Mm-hmm.
Such a good actor.
Yeah, he's great.
And Jesse Plemons was terrifying in the show, and terrifying. He's creepy in the show, and he's creepy here too. It's great.
I was really impressed with this movie. This movie is better than it has any right to be, and I think a lot of that has to do with the care and control that Vince Gilligan has on this universe. And
I was about to say, I don't think Vince Gilligan has, his half butts. I know we're on radio. Half butts his
right.
His Breaking Bad universe. You look at this, or Better Call Saul.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. I think he does great stuff all around, all the way back to the X-Files, in fact. So I'm always pleased with what he does, and that movie was no different for me.
Nice. Your number 4.
My number 4 is Vice, which I really enjoyed.
It's my number 3. We can go ahead and talk about it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So now we'll talk about it as your number 3. Fun. So Vice is one of those that is I think takes kind of some pondering on after you watch it to really start to sink in kind of what that movie is doing and what it is trying to say. And it still blows my mind that this is a movie that when you talk about the idea of both sides, Republicans, Democrats, all that kind of, fun division stuff, came away going, that was an unfair portrayal of him. One side was like, he was way too, why did you try to humanize him? He was way too nice and caring about his family, and this is an evil person who did evil things to this country, and, you can't make people feel good about him. And the other side is like, oh, you're just making him look like the devil. He's doing all this stuff, and he did great stuff for our country. And it's like, what an interesting thing you can do when you make a movie that that is equally misunderstood by everybody, or possibly equally understood. And I don't know. I think there's something admirable there, and I, for one, thought it was a really interesting exploration of this man, and beyond that, maybe one of the greatest acting performances I've ever seen. So,
You can't convince me that that was Christian Bale.
yeah,
They actually got they actually got him. They actually got
Dick
I
Cheney.
forget his name. Dick Cheney. Yeah, thanks. They actually got Dick Cheney to do his own stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. And also George W. That you can't convince me that was
That wasn't Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. Yeah,
God, I love that guy so much.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was my number three. So what's your number three?
My number three, we can talk about The Irishman then, that I
Okay.
jumped on
Cool, cool.
earlier. I'm still, this is one of those movies that I still really think I like, but it is definitely moved, like the needle's moving the wrong way on this one for me. I cannot think of, in my mind, a reason why I would rewatch this. Like it's very long. I feel like I got it all the first time. I liked it. I still like the idea of it. I like that Scorsese is doing something more consequential with the gangster idea here than in most of his films. And by consequential, I don't mean important. By consequential, I mean actually has consequences to the actions of these gangsters. This is a movie about the loneliness of living that life. And so, yeah, so I really like what it's doing, but I just can't find myself getting excited to ever watch it again.
No, I can't. It's too big of an undertaking.
Yeah.
Like it's it honestly it would feel like working out. You know, like okay, I gotta stretch, I gotta get ready, I gotta get limbered up, make sure I got plenty of water. I gotta go watch The Irishman.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is good though. I mean, we both had it in our top five. It's just I
Right?
can't do it again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, that brings us to your number two.
Yes, and you're gonna trump it, so I'll just say Game Night.
Yes, I will trump that. That
Yeah.
is obviously my number one. My number two is Bridge of Spies, which I really enjoy. I think more than most people, actually.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, I've gotten that response from a lot of people, but
That's
it may,
Spielberg too, isn't it?
yeah, it may just be Tom Hanks kind of thing too. I love watching him in any of these movies, and I found this really engaging. One of those movies that I was definitely on board with through the entire time, and just trying to figure out how it was going to resolve everything that was going to happen. And yeah, I like Bridge of Spies. That was my number two.
Yeah, I think that Mark Rylance is fair in this movie. I don't think he should have won the Oscar. That's not what we're doing here, talking about that.
Yeah.
I think that he did a good enough job, but I wasn't blown away by his character by any
Right.
means. So I guess that would be my number one, and then we'll talk about Game Night. Is that right? I want to make sure I get
What
this
was
right.
your? I think that's right. What was your number two again?
Mine was Game Night, which you're going to trumpet to number one.
Right. Yeah. So yes, we can talk about Game Night then now, unless we do your number one first. Actually, we should do your number one first. I think is the correct order.
Okay. It's a
I just
movie
know
you don't
we're
like at all.
we're sending producer Phil around in circles right now, and he's
Yeah.
he's dreading it. But what's your number one?
It's a movie you don't like at all. I'm going to go with The Master.
Yeah. I did not connect to the master at all. Here's an interesting thing. You talk about Charlie Kaufman being an artist, and
PTA.
PTA is one of those guys too. And for whatever reason, I don't connect to the type of art that he's doing in movies like The Master, although I do in The Phantom Thread. So go figure. It's just kind of hit or miss for me when he's doing this kind of stuff. But yeah, talk about your love for The Master, because obviously I can't.
No pun intended. I think that it is a masterclass in acting, both from Philip Seymour Hoffman and Joaquin Phoenix. That scene, there's two scenes with them. One at the end, whenever Philip Seymour Hoffman is singing to him, but the one scene where I go, okay, these guys are just acting their pants off right now, and it's the scene where they're in the hull of the ship and Philip Seymour Hoffman is having Joaquin Phoenix do that, answer all of my questions before you blink, sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing. And they're just
Right.
going back and forth. And he's like, "Nope, you blink, we got to start over." And I'm just watching this, going, "Oh, I am fascinated by what is going on right now." And it's he can't legally say this, but it's a commentary on Scientology and stuff like that.
Sure.
How it's supposed to be L. Ron Hubbard is Philip Seymour Hoffman's character. Amy Adams is doing crazy good work in this as well. And how the Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is like, you see how he preys on the unstable and the weak-minded or the vulnerable, and how he can manipulate them to believing he is a second coming,
Mm-hmm.
like he is the vision of what is to come. And it's it's fascinating watching scenes where he gets called out on that, and he quickly just loses his temper. So I think that The Master is a fascinating story for me, as well as a masterclass in acting. I love it.
Great choice. Great choice. My number one is Game Night. As you mentioned
Yeah,
already, you had it a little bit lower.
just at number two.
I actually, right, just exactly a little bit lower, just
Yeah,
the slightest bit lower you could actually be. Yeah, I actually just watched this again last night.
I
We
watched it three
have,
nights ago.
isn't that funny? This is such
Yeah.
a rewatchable movie. This may be one of the
Oh
most
God.
rewatchable movies ever. It is so funny. It's always funny. I've seen it 4 or 5 times, and the bullet wound scene kills me, slays
Oh, it
me every
out.
single time. The oh, he died, like all
Oh no,
that
he
stuff.
died.
Rachel McAdams is so good. This is, and I mean, you already know how I feel about Jason Bateman. I think he's so much fun to
Yeah.
watch. I just want to hang out with that guy. I want to be friends with him.
Yeah.
So it's just such a pleasant watch. It's also so well done. It doesn't have to be as well crafted as it is. That's the thing about this movie is it could have been just a normally produced comedy and I still would have had a good time. But this
Yeah.
movie was like, no, we're going to up the level and do some cool things with camera angles and camera movements. And we're going to do this perspective from above that makes everything look like game pieces. And we're going to do some
Yeah.
fun, twisty, turny stuff in the plot that is actually intricate and interesting and actually kind of works when you think about it. And man,
Far fetched, but it works. Like
it,
it's
right. Yes, of
really,
course.
really the odds
Yeah,
of this happening is
it
insane.
works in the sense that if that in a far-fetched world like this
Yeah.
the things, the twists that you encounter do make sense. So man, yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about this movie. It gets better every time. I would not be surprised if this movie climbs its way onto to my best of all time list, and
I
keeps
get it.
climbing up, because it is one of those. It reminds me a lot of some of the other comedies on my best of all time list, like What About Bob or Groundhog Day or
Yeah.
other Bill Murray movies. Apparently, uh, you
Bill
know,
Murray's not in this one, by the way.
that's true. That's true. But yeah, it's just like it's just quotable. It's fun. I have a blast with this movie every single time.
Yeah, and we haven't even really talked about the guy, and it's his best ever challenge. I think that Jesse Plemons is the funniest part of this entire movie.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that he kills that role of the what's their neighbor's name? I can't remember now. It was a
It was officer something. I just watched it last night.
Gary. He was
Gary,
Gary.
that's right, Gary. Yeah, yeah.
Because I just remember every single time that they have to fake to go into his house and like Gary.
Or that moment where they go over because they want to use the computer and they're like, "Hey, let's
Yeah,
do
that's
game
what I'm
night." And they're
talking
all
about.
standing
They're
up.
like,
Oh yeah.
Gary.
And
Oh,
he
and
just
Billy Magnuson is just so stupid that you
yeah,
can't not love him. He's just
yeah.
so innocent. Yeah, I love this movie. It's great. And like I said before, it wasn't until recently that I watched the post-credit scene for this, and it's in Gary's basement with the Frito Lays. We have never had a 3-for-1 offer, and he just wrote in red marker, "lies."
That's right. Oh
Proof.
man. Yeah, I that's actually the mid-credit scene. There's actually a
Oh, is
post-credit
it?
scene. Yeah,
Oh, with
fake Denzel.
the
Yeah.
fake Denzel, which is even more heartbreaking for Gary.
Well, and on his board it says like with whom is
With
whatever
whom?
Debbie, I think. With whom
Yeah,
is Debbie having
Deb.
lunch or something like that. So I just love that he says with whom.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this movie is so much fun and definitely one.
Oh
If you
yeah.
haven't checked out, I think you're definitely going to laugh a little bit at that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our buried treasure for the week.
Let's do
Andrew,
it.
why don't you kick us off? What's that one thing of any area of pop culture that you want to make sure people know about?
Shocker, Aaron. I
Uh huh.
like DC things.
What?
I know.
Hey, hey,
Um.
hey. A little bit of a tease. My buried treasure also has to do with DC things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
All right, what's
Phil,
yours?
do we have the same? No, I doubt it.
No, we don't.
Uh, I'm gonna go with the DC animated film that just came out. I'm gonna go with DC, or it's a Justice League Dark Apocalypse War,
Okay, tell me
which
about
is
this one.
it's the second movie in the Justice League Dark. It basically the first movie deals with a Batman teaming up with John Constantine
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with supernatural events taking place. And then this movie here is the follow up to it, the conclusion of that story, I guess you could say. Um, I've said over and over again that I think that Flashpoint Paradox is my favorite DC animated movie. I've only seen Justice League Dark Apocalypse War once, and I can already say adamantly that it is now my favorite animated movie
Oh
that
wow.
DC has ever put out. Adamantly, I can say that. It's the best one. Um, you do need to see the first Justice League Dark, and I would even recommend seeing a couple others like Flashpoint Paradox. You might as well see it just because it gives you a context and it's like overlapping. You see the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, the two that you need to see before this would be Justice League Dark and Justice League War. I think is the one you need to see before you watch this. But once you see those, and if you have a general understanding of the DC universe, like you know who Darkseid is, or the Suicide Squad, or any of those, you'll get what's going on in this movie. But for context, I think it's really good. Yeah, honestly, a lot of craziness happens in this animated movie, and it ends with one of the most "what is going to happen now" sort of moments that I adamantly say this is the best animated movie they've ever put out.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
That is DC Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. That's what
Yes.
it's called.
And apocalypse is not spelled like you would normally spell it.
It's
It's spelled like
APOKOLIPS.
yes.
There
And
you
for
go.
those of you wondering, that is the planet that Darkseid lives on.
Got it. Got
He
it.
lives on the planet Apocalypse. Well,
So
I'm not going to get into the whole thing of where Darkseid actually is, but yes, Aaron, what is your buried treasure?
mine also involves DC things, as well as AC things. I watched the movie Tesla about the
Direct current and alternating current.
yeah,
Okay.
alternating current, direct current war between
Isn't Jesse
Tesla.
Plemons in that?
He might be. I don't think I remember. I remember Jim Gaffigan being in there, if that's who you're thinking of, but I don't remember seeing Jesse Plemons in there. But it's Ethan Hawke playing Tesla and Kyle MacLachlan playing Thomas Edison, and both doing great work here. And I don't know how much you know about the Edison Tesla battle back and forth about AC, DC, alternating current, direct current,
It's
not the band.
insane. They would like kill elephants and shit or stuff. Oh my crap! I am so sorry.
You're good. Don't worry about it.
I get crazy when I get talking about Tesla.
Yeah, you're a huge Tesla fan. So have you seen this? I was curious if you had, taken the time to rent this or see it or anything like that.
This one looked like such a weird, like transformative look on Tesla. Like I don't know if I wanted to hear things about it before I went and watched it. So
Well, I'd
you
recommend
would
it.
say
Yeah, especially if you're a Tesla fan, if you've kind of studied this or know this stuff, I think this is an interesting way to look at it. The movie is very much kind of I'm trying to think, like, you know how in The Big Short it was like its own Wikipedia page at times where it would like
Yeah,
break and say,
yeah, that's what it looked like,
yeah,
and it
this movie does
works.
that and it works. I think it
But
works.
it's is it his daughter or somebody who's doing the commentary or something
I
like that?
think it's his wife.
Wife, okay.
If I remember correctly, it's Anne Morgan, played by Eve Hewson, and so yeah, and so every once in a while, and actually a couple people do it, but they'll just stop and I mean, and it's even more than like with The Big Short, where it's just talking to the camera, breaking the fourth wall. In this case, it's like pulling up Google searches. It's like if you Google Nikola Tesla, you will find so and so many results and this kind of thing. Anyhow, I thought that was a clever way to kind of get us through some of the exposition that's needed. There's something honest about exposition like that, where it's like, look, we've got to do some expositing here, so we're just
We got
going
to
to
make
do
a
it.
movie, not a documentary.
Right, yeah. And
Yeah.
so it's weird because at times it almost feels like a documentary, but it's definitely a movie. So I would really be curious to hear your thoughts as a Tesla guy. I definitely felt like I was educated more on their relationship, the relationship between Tesla and Edison, kind of what they each were good at. There's the stuff in there about the electric chair and about how Edison used that as a way to almost diminish what Tesla was doing by saying that his was so dangerous you could use it to execute people. And so yeah, it's a really interesting look. And if you don't know anything about the story, I think it's a fair way to get into it. By the way, I mentioned Jim Gaffigan. He plays Westinghouse, who teamed up with Tesla to do you know what? I'm forgetting who was who. I think Tesla was AC, alternating current,
Yes.
and Edison was DC, direct current. Yeah, because he talks about the idea of DC being a river flowing one way and being serene and safe and those kind of things, but AC is crazy and it goes both ways and it could kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah. So anyways, if you don't know much about the current wars, I think this is a fun one to watch. And Ethan Hawke, man, Ethan Hawke is taking some roles. Like
The Current Wars is a different movie.
He's doing some. Thank you. He's doing some interesting things lately, and this is another one that I really enjoyed. So yeah,
The
there you
Current
go.
Wars is the one with Benedict Cumberbatch.
That's right. That's also a recent one. That's also just came out recently. So
And that's the one I was thinking you were talking about. And it's not Jesse Plemons who I was thinking of. It was Nicholas Hoult who was playing Tesla.
yes, I think that's
so
correct.
Yeah, two
But-
Tesla movies within like what, 2 years of each other?
A year, I think a year almost of each other.
A year.
It just happens, man. It just Hollywood,
Yeah.
no
Hey,
idea is not
I'm-
worth having twice.
But the Ethan Hawke Tesla movie you would recommend.
Yeah, I would. It's not a movie that I came away going, oh, everybody has to see this, but it is a movie I came away going, oh, that was interesting. I'm glad I watched it. So that'll kind of give you a feel for kind of what I'm thinking there. Well, we did it, man.
Cool. Yeah, we did.
We did AC and DC. We did direct current and alternating current both for the episode today. Congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us today. For SiftPop, it is part of the Studio DNA Podcast Network. You can find out more about other shows on the network at Studio DNA Media or by searching Studio DNA in your podcast player. I should say studiodna.media. Make sure you put that dot in there if you're looking online. Huge thanks to Andrew for hanging out again today. Thanks, man.
Thank you, buddy.
Appreciate you being around. I think we'll get you out of here in time to catch the Saints game. So you shouldn't have to miss any of that. Huge thanks to producer Phil, who is having his own little DC conversation in the chat right now.
Thanks, Phil.
And also much love and gratitude to our members of SiftPop. Thank you so much for supporting what goes on here, making SiftPop a real thing. Support starts at $3 a month, comes with some pretty fun perks. You can find out more at patreon.com/SiftPop. Lots of ways to connect with the podcast. Wherever you listen, you can comment, leave a rating, leave a review, especially if it's Apple Podcasts. We would really appreciate that. You can also email us, feedback@siftpop.com. If you have a question you want us to answer, if you have anything you want to say, any thoughts, feedback@siftpop.com works. And finally, if you're having a good time, your movie-loving friends will probably like it too. So let them know about it and that listening is much easier than going 127 hours on a superhero's arm. We will catch you next week with I'm not sure what yet, but we'll let you know then. And also, you should have a Sift spoil up in your podcast feed next as we talk a little more in depth about I'm thinking of ending things. And for those who are watching, thank you for watching. We can take a couple questions. Anything just real quick here, and then we have a Sift spoil to record. Producer Phil said we will be doing that live. So if you want to watch the Sift spoil on Thinking of Ending Things, we should be firing that up. It'll be in the same places that you had to be able to watch this. So, yes. So Phil was saying, well, Jay Bourgeois said, I thought he was going to say it was based in Washington, D.C., as far as my D.C. And then Phil said, or Diners Club, or Disney Channel, or District Court. No, none of those things. None of those
Any
things
David Carradine movie, really.
That's right. Or David Carradine, for sure. All right, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. Seeing no quick questions or anything, we're going to go ahead and get into the Sift spoil. So we're going to fire up another live stream that says spoilers on it so everybody knows and don't accidentally get spoiled on a movie they don't want to. So see you guys later.
Bye.